Hey!
Hello.
Hey everyone. As you can probably see, Fugi isn't working, so I'm jokingly This is so fucking funny.
Like one of those like TikTok animations where they just like take Photoshop and screen grab them wiggling the characters for talking because that's all you need. Oh great, yeah,
Yeah,
look at me
yeah,
bouncing. It's
yeah.
perfect.
It's perfect. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, welcome to the chapters 207, 101 to 217, which is Brokeworks or Alabasta arc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, just coming in out of the gate swinging. Oh, but first off, thank you all for supporting the Patreon and being here. I really
Yeah, you
appreciate it.
guys you guys are the exclusive people.
The exclusive club.
It looks like by my count when this started we had like 28 viewers and now we only have like 17. So some people clearly knocked on the door of book club and they found the wrong door. You gotta have
Yeah,
the guy let you in. They'll find
yeah,
their way, I'm sure.
yeah. The bouncer, all that other stuff. Yeah, and it's a good time to join because since this is the first of the month, you're gonna get 3 episodes for that $5. God,
Yay.
yeah. So I hope you enjoy that. But coming out of the gate swinging, uh,
Yeah. Oh,
I
we should
hmm?
we should address this right away. Obviously, Bo is not here. Bo's
Oh
dealing with some
yeah.
very serious real life family stuff.
Yeah.
Bo is not able to read up through Alabasta, but did read
Mhm.
up through Drum Island. So I talked
Yeah.
to them, and I have their opinions to say when we get there. So
Yeah. So, just first off, I like Baroque Works.
I
Baroque,
love Baroque Works.
Baroque Works, good arc. I like it more than East Blue. Obviously, East Blue
Yes.
had the struggle of having to set the foundation of the series, obviously, and then Baroque Works like benefits from it, where it's like, yes, this is the story that Oda wanted to tell, right? Without like all the like slow intro bits of like, oh, we got to get the party members together. It's like this is One Piece functioning like probably as intended,
Yes.
right?
Baroque Works, yeah, someone's like, that's how you pronounce that? Yeah, the anime pronounces it Baroque Works, where they emphasize the second word, which is insane, and I do not understand why they do that, and they're wrong. It's Baroque Works.
Yeah,
like how you'd say those two words in that order. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I love Baroque Works. I was talking with both Bo and Aloha separately about this. It's one of my
Hmm.
favorite. It's for me, I kind of think it's my favorite part of One Piece because East Blue is all these small adventures where you're
Hmm.
gathering the party, and they're in
Yeah.
like I wouldn't call like Baratie is a cool location. Like I wouldn't call East Blue boring setting wise, but like the Grand
Hmm.
Line is immediately way more interesting,
Yeah.
way more video gamey, and
Hmm.
they do a great job being like everything is here. Here's a big arc,
Yeah.
and I kind of wish we got a One Piece where like it does these big arcs like Alabasta, and then it kind of like goes back and does a couple tiny arcs. Then it's like here's another big one. Now we're gonna do a couple small ones. But from here on
Yeah.
out, it's for the most part kind of just bigger and bigger and bigger. And I feel
Yeah.
like Alabasta is the right length for a big arc.
It does a really good job of making them feel like they're new to this whole entire situation, but still capable of handling like this kind of like thing where it's everyone's just like, oh, it's the Grand Line, you won't survive, shrimp. And then they go like, well, I mean, I'm just built different.
Yeah,
And even,
I
but
do.
go on.
I was gonna say I do like how they actually struggle with the
Yeah,
seafaring right away.
yeah,
I didn't remember that. It's nice.
yeah. Like with like the whole thing where it's just like shit changing constantly. I really like the log pros, or however you pronounce it, log
Oh yeah,
pros or whatever. I
that's
I think
correct.
it's a really fucking interesting concept of like how to be like, okay, yeah, you have to go from island to island to navigate. And this is how you do it with this special little compass because you're in a fucky little land with fucky little people. And it's just like, good luck. And so,
It's a great excuse for like obviously we can only follow the Straw Hats on their journey, but later on there's other pirates who are like, yeah, they started around the same time as Luffy and are like,
yeah,
around the same level. And it's a great excuse to be like, oh yeah, once you leave Reverse Mountain, there's like 7 general paths you
yeah,
can follow. And I love one of my favorite moments. It's just such a good Luffy moment is
yeah.
when he's like, okay, we'll go this way because of this reason. And Crocus is like, are you sure that's the one you want to pick? This is a big decision. He's like, it's fine. If we don't like it, we'll just go around again and try a different route next time.
Yeah. You know what? Super fucking fair. Someone in chat, it's such a genius plot device for why characters go where. Yeah, it also just like, I don't know. We'll get to there because obviously the log prose like is a factor in like one of the arcs. But I think now just kind of going from like little arc to arc, just kind of like format our thoughts a little bit better like we did last time. Obviously we mentioned it. Starting off with Reverse Mountain. Reverse Mountain is, I'm gonna say, the weakest part of this entire arc, but obviously like it sets up shit like Lombao or whatever fucking the whale's name is.
Laboon, yeah.
Laboon, whatever. Yeah, like it's very fun because it shows like, oh, it's just like, this is how you get in the Grand Line. Shit's already dangerous with a giant whale sitting outside of it.
Yeah, like literally 8 feet into the Grand Line, there's a problem.
Yeah. One thing I didn't realize is like, because I didn't fully like watch concurrently when it was like the 4Kids dub, which is how I like, you know, experienced One Piece. I saw Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday. I didn't know Miss Wednesday was Vivi. I had no fucking clue. And then it was like, oh, you're the Princess of Alabasta. I'm like, wait, that's fucking Vivi? Huh?
Yeah.
Because
it's
yeah,
like, I know this is a book club and I don't want to go too far into the surrounding history of One Piece, but I can't skip talking about my favorite anime adaptation moment of all time, which is the incredible way you know what? I don't even blame 4Kids for this, because again, the little Laboon thing is basically just a setup for something that happens, I'm gonna say 250 chapters later.
Yeah.
And like, how the fuck would they know that? Then they're just like, why is there this weird little whale pit stop? We don't care, we're skipping it. And the way they skip it is they edited an iceberg over Laboon, and when Luffy shoots him with the cannon, it just blows up the iceberg and they keep going. They never meet Crocus, and then they just meet Vivi and Mr. Nine at Baroque Works, or at Whiskey Peak, because like why wouldn't they there? And it's great because they like to do the edits, because it's a lot of edits. They like put in this shitty looking fog, and they're coming down Reverse Mountain. It's all the bad actors, and my favorite iconic lines in the 4Kids dub are Sanji yelling, "Here comes the fog!" when they just cover the screen, and then Luffy blowing up the iceberg and going, "So much for that iceberg!" It's like, anytime I see an egregious edit to something, I just go, "So much for that iceberg."
God, that's fucking amazing. That explains why I didn't realize Miss Wednesday was Vivi, because I there's like a gap in time of like East Blue, and then by the time I remember watching again, they were already like middle of Alabasta, right? So I was like, oh, this is the Vivi character. I didn't like know, and so like fucking yeah, Reverse Mountain. Not a lot happened. Obviously, like introduction to Baroque Works, the guy inside of the whale itself foreshadowing stuff up ahead, right? But it showed like, you know, it's just like, oh, interesting things happen in this area because this is where all the seas meet, and it's fucked up and crazy.
I don't have much to say about it, other than it's a nice moment. It's the first time we see Usopp doing a major repair to the ship, which becomes a very important theme, because he loves that ship. Yeah. And it's got like 1 or 2 good Luffy moments, and then Crocus is like, maybe they're the pirates we're waiting for, Roger? And like, I don't think I'd consider this a spoiler. I'll just tell you, there's a ton of characters who have met Gold Roger from that era, and like, we'll just look at like Koreha's one. She also is like, she says some shit at the end, and that's probably the biggest benefit of reading One Piece binge instead of serially, is like, there's all these like one-off moments, and it's hard to tell in the moment reading serially if that's something Oda's setting up for the next arc, the current arc, or 800 chapters down the. There's
Yeah.
literally, I think I even said there's something that Kureha says that is just getting explained right now, 1,000 chapters later.
Yeah.
So,
God.
yeah.
Shit's great. And so now on to the next little bit, which I have something I really fucking want to talk about. Whiskey Peak. God. Like I got to Whiskey Peak and I was like, oh, this is gonna be fucking awful. But the one saving grace is the fact that this is the fucking best Zoro fight so fucking far. Zoro versus 100 bounty hunters is like literally what I was talking about, where it's just like you have to make Zoro and Sanji fights more dynamic than a 1v1 situation where it's just all about cutting harder or hitting harder, right? It's just like,
yeah, we cheated a little and talked about this before the book club because I was like, oh, I really like this fight, and you were like, yeah, this fight's great. And Zoro at this part of One Piece, like, I mean this with all of the 14-year-old boy in my soul, Zoro is so cool.
I love him. Like,
he's funny, he's really scary when he needs to be, and he's just awesome. Like, watching him fight 100 guys, and like, there's so many good little moments, like a bunch of guys are climbing a ladder and he just kicks it to make fun of them, and then he gets hit by the ladder later because Miss Monday hits him with it. That's a good use of a prop.
Yeah.
He cuts a hole and then Looney Tunes steps out of the way and they fall through it. There's that moment where like a little kid and a nun try to fake him out, and he's just like, nice try, assholes, I will kill a chill island.
It's so fucking good. That's exactly what I was talking about in the East Blue episode, where it's just like, this is peak. It's like very Trigun in nature, right?
That's a great description.
It's very dynamic, where it's just you're running all over the place in this town with all these fucking people after your ass, and it's just like that's how it should be. And obviously later on in the series they put in plot reasons there aren't that, but it's just it's just chef's kiss, best Zoro shit.
Yeah, you mentioned, you were like, this is exactly what I was talking about. This is what I want from a Zoro fight. And I scanned forward in my brain and I was like, I think this genuinely might be the best Zoro fight in the whole series.
Yeah.
Because it's genuinely great. Like, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about Baroque Works is, in general, it feels like the first time the Straw Hats are running up against an obstacle they can't just overpower, because in East Blue they just could. Like Luffy was just stronger than everyone at the outset. Some more than others. Like, he and Arlong were pretty close, but like Don Green was nothing.
But also on top of it, it's just like people who are outsmarting them as well, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and like, the reason I love Whiskey Peak is I like the idea. First of all, I think it's a very funny trap to catch new pirates, but and like get their bounties put in. But I love that how themed all the random mooks are. Like, they've all got different outfits, and I like the implication that, like, obviously our guys are like officer, like Mr. 1 through Mr. 5 level strength. So like we're beyond that part of Baroque Works, but you can kind of see how if like weaker pirates also would have to deal with their own level of Baroque Works, and they're all themed. So like, I kind of like the idea of imagining other pirate crews coming through and like, oh, Miss Monday's the final boss for that crew or whatever. I find that really charming.
It's great because it's just like, it's literally the chump check, where it's just like, are you good enough to beat our mooks? If not, then like get on the grand line.
Oh, someone also, Zoro treats Miss Monday like a proper enemy instead of taking it easy because she's a woman. Sanji.
Yeah. Then there was the 100 bounty hunters, but interrupted by Luffy waking up and being like, Zoro, how could you hurt all these people?
I hate that moment, to be honest. I think it's really stupid.
Normally, I would like it if it was just like... There's a lot of cases in Baroque Works, and I'll probably get to it, where Luffy just kind of like is out of character.
Yeah.
Right? Like he just like suddenly turns into a different character to appease like whatever plot Oda wants, instead of like being Luffy, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. It's
yeah, like, because the thing, Luffy waking up and be like, I can't believe Zoro did this, and like, maybe
Yeah.
smacking Zoro once I could
Yeah.
see, and that like playing it as a joke, but then Zoro being like, no, here's what happened. Like Luffy would listen to, he trusts Zoro. Like
Yeah.
that's, and I'm gonna get into this later. Trust is a super important theme of this entire saga. So
Yeah.
I kind of high key hate this moment, and
Yeah.
like I like that it's being played as a joke and they just defeat Valentine and Five
Yeah.
in the background because they don't matter. But at the same time, it's like this doesn't feel like something Luffy would do.
Yeah, it's like because throughout all of East Blue, Luffy was like the judge of character. He just knew the entire time and stuff. It was just like he was like, you're a good person, you're a good person. I don't fucking like you, you're awful, right? And so it's just him clocking Zoro as a good guy. I feel like Luffy's bigger nature would have been able to be like, what's going on here, Zoro? Might be a little bit bigger, but you know, it didn't. That doesn't lead to the funny fight where they fight each other and then destroy the number 5
Cross Trash says, I'm pretty sure the Luffy versus Zoro fight was editor mandated. I would believe it. It feels really out of place.
Yeah. Also, I really like Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine. Their powers are very interesting. Obviously, it's booger bombs and fucking weight, but like, you know, I at least find
like
that
them.
interesting. Yeah, more interesting than Pearl and fucking Don Krieg, that's for sure.
I love Baroque Works as a villain group, and we're about to get to them, but the villains of Little Garden are like some of my favorite villains in all of One Piece. I'll wait till Little Garden, but yeah, here, let's. Someone mentioned it really quick. The shot of I have always been in love with that moment of like another tombstone to adorn the cactus rocks. Yeah. I think that's fucking awesome.
And just they like end Whiskey Feet, because we already talked about the high points. The funniest fucking thing in the manga so far for me is Mr. 8 going, don't worry, I'll distract them. Boating 5 feet away, then blowing up in the biggest fucking fire I've ever seen.
I love Robin's introduction. I like that's the other thing. And I'm gonna come back to Mr. 8 and Igaram for obvious reasons later on. But the initial stakes of it's Baroque Works is the best I think Oda ever does at gauging the full scale of a threat of an organization. Because you watch these your heroes who have beaten up everyone with no real problems the whole series, beat up everyone with no real problems again, and you're like, yeah, obviously they're gonna help these people with Baroque Works. And then Igaram is apparent visually, you don't know this, it's not true, but he is the first on-screen in the present death you see in One Piece. Except no, he isn't, because Oda's a coward. But he definitely should be dead. And in that moment, you're like, wow, not only did his pretty viable plan to be to distract them, not buy them any time, Baroque Works is a real threat because they found this shit out instantly. Yeah. And killed him, and then Robin just sails out of the fire and is just on their ship and is like, Lamau, I could kill all of you.
One thing I want to point out is when Robin was on the ship, out of character moment that I found fucking weird, Sanji was pointing a gun at her.
I loved that, frankly.
It's interesting, but it's just like I'm just like, why is Sanji pointing a gun at someone when his whole thing is that he doesn't use his hands for like, I mean, I guess a gun is like,
it's fine. I liked it because, first of all, I love the idea that Usopp and Sanji, who have not been in this arc, wake up and see their crewmates being threatened and are like, we're doing this, and are ready to throw down. Yeah. And I like the idea that Sanji has a level where he's like, I know this woman is pretty, but she's threatening my girls and my friends. Yeah. And I do think you're right, and it's just out of character. But like, I think it's out of character in a way that would have been a better character.
I didn't even register that he was pointing a gun at a woman. I feel like the woman, but like, yeah, it's, if you, like the way you think about it makes it definitely a lot more cool. It's really nice. But yeah, like literally Robin showing up and then just fucking flinging them, and it's like, what's their mysterious powers? And then just leaving because it's just like, okay, I find this a little quirky. I'm gonna let you live.
Yeah, Robin also has one of my favorite devil fruits in the series. It's really cool.
The fact that it's the blossom instead of like some hand thing, it's a very interesting like concept. right?
Yeah, I like that all the names of her attacks are flower themed, but it's just like, yeah, I can just duplicate my body parts.
Yeah. It's
The yeah, no, but I love that moment. I love that she's like, here you go. You can go straight to here and get to Alabasta. And like to
mhm.
this day, I was like looking into it, and I'm like, is she fucking with them? Like it
Yeah.
because the island she gives them a thing to is the island that, like, at the end of Little Garden, it's the island that was eaten years ago by the goldfish. So like,
Yeah.
does she know that? Is she sending them to die? Like,
Yeah.
does she just not care? And she's like, this is funny. And
Yeah.
I love that ambiguity, actually.
Gurgly in chat says Aloha redraws the scene to be Sanji holding the gun with his foot. Perfect. Makes way more sense now. Yeah, it does.
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Um
That's pretty much Whiskey Peak. Oh yeah, I'm looking at like a chapter breakdown. And because we talked about this in East Blue, about like, you know, the buggy cutaways where it's like, oh, these will come back again. The Kobe and Meppo like cutaway scenes and all that, where it's just like them being Marines and stuff. It's very I love it a lot, especially later on when you see like the one about Django. Right?
Yeah, I love that they're in the background
Yeah.
of Django's.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
It's just like
Yeah.
it's a really good. I can't stop saying it enough. It's a really good way to make it where characters come back, but not out of fucking nowhere.
It's very smart.
Yeah.
And like, one of the most insane things to me is
Yeah.
that in the One Piece anime, they animated Buggy's adventure as its own episode, which was a good idea because
Yeah.
like there's so much One Piece anime, and like now it's really funny because you'll see like animated clips of the current One Piece episodes and they look dynamite. Like they look really
Yeah.
good. And they're getting like people from Studio Yoda and like really great places to animate
Yeah.
them. So like clearly they give a shit again. But for a long time, the One Piece anime was just looking for every excuse to put filler in that it could. And they never did the cover stories for anyone but Buggy. And it's crazy
Yeah.
to me they didn't do that.
Because I don't know, I would have been interested in like seeing like Kobe and Meppo's like marine journey, because it could give like a very good peek into like what the marine life is in comparison to like the pirate life, right? Because those are the two kind of opposing forces, like, you know.
Yeah.
Right? So having the comparison to kind of like, you know, compare and contrast and be like, wow, the Marines fucking suck. Or
there's very few good guy marine characters. It's like Kobe, Garp, and like Smoker, and that's almost it. So it would have been nice to have like a view into why some good people are Marines, because you do think there'd be a couple more good Marines in this universe. But yeah, Fujitora is a good Marine. You're correct.
Bo said, I feel like they thought it would be easy enough to do it at the start, and as things picked up, they were like, I can't fit this stuff, I guess. Yeah, that's fair.
Even still, I almost feel like at some point between arcs, they could have been like, let's do like 20 episodes of recap. I mean, that would have bought them a couple months.
Yeah, instead of filler, just fucking do that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
anyway.
Yeah.
So, the next arc, Little Garden. One of the best jokes in all of One Piece is Mr. Three's introduction, where Miss Golden Week is like, you're like, Mr. Three, we've got orders, and he's like, don't give away our position. No one can know that I am Mr. Three. And you see him, and he looks like he does.
Yeah, big 3 on his head. It's great. It's so fucking just. I love it. His powers are interesting with the wax fruit, like. Just like this like tiny little island arc is like really fun because you get to see how like mystical the One Piece world is with the giants and like just like you go there and you find the first issue with like the Log Pros system where it's like, oh yeah, you have to stay here for 2 fucking years, and everyone's like, oh god,
it's great. And I genuinely, and like, God, the way Little Garden is honestly one of my favorite arcs in all of One. There's one element of it I don't like, and I'll get into that. But I still, Oda's so masterful at this early stage of One Piece, and like I'm noticing it so much because he completely loses this ability as the series goes on, where like Sanji and Zoro do nothing in this arc. Essentially, they walk off into the woods, and then Zoro gets kidnapped, and is also the funniest fucking character ever for a little while.
Yeah.
But yeah, then Sanji. I love Sanji's role at large in
Yeah,
Alabasta.
it's all he wants to be a brave warrior, and he's found these people that are just like that's their whole deal, and he's like,
I
God,
mean,
I wish that were.
That's
Oh,
Usopp, but
sorry, fuck. Yeah.
that is really good too. Yeah,
But,
no,
oh, yeah. Where it's like he's a spy almost.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
Sanji's thing, because like
Mhm.
again, I don't want to spoil this because even Aloha hasn't seen this chunk, even though he has seen some chunks of late game One Piece. Sanji does get some spy adjacent abilities later on, and like I wish they leaned into him being like the covert ops suave guy, and like that's like they go into like a kind of a James Bond thing, and like that's why he's so into women or whatever. But yeah. Anyway, Bo points out really whack to find out Miss Golden Week and Vivi are the same age. Yeah, they sure are both 16.
Yeah, God, you also like Miss Golden Week's powers and everything, where it's just like it's not a devil fruit; they just have some whack shit going on.
I love Miss Golden Week. She's just like a little kid who's like, I don't really care what's going on. Like, you never find out how she got in Baroque Works. She never gets arrested. She never gets killed. I'll just tell you this. She gets a cover story later. I love Miss Golden
bless. Week. That's great.
And her, like, yeah, it's not a devil fruit power. She's just like, I'm really good at painting, and I have psychological effects on people with my paint. It's so fucking funny. And this is a great example of again, a thing Oda does in the early arcs, where nowadays I think their fan name is just the Big Three. No matter what, in every situation, the final three fights in ascending order are Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy, and they just fight the strongest three guys, and there's always three, and it always sucks. And early on, you get these great things where like Usopp and Luffy get to meet both of the giants. They learn their deal. They both get like, they're the ones who would get mad at the giants fight being interrupted.
Yeah.
So then it's up to Usopp and Luffy to do the fight. And it's so smart because it's like Zoro and Luffy could like literally ace Valentine and Mr. Five.
Yeah.
But then when Usopp has to fight them, it's a much more challenging battle for him.
Yeah.
And also I love the hard counter to Luffy with the Golden Week paint. It's very funny.
Dude, I love the Usopp versus Mr. Five fight because I don't know, it's just smart because it takes a shonen trope of calling out your attacks and then using it as a bluff to make the guy eat fucking spicy pepper, right? Because he's like, oh, I can eat explosions all day, and then it's like, nah, that's my spicy fucking bomb, and then he fucking just, I'm like, good
it's
shit.
Really funny. It's a great idea, and like, God, I mentioned this last time, but like the way I write fights, and I like writing fights, is just like, what would the characters do in this moment rather than like who needs to win the fight? And there's so many good moments of like Zoro would cut off his own fucking legs to get out of the trap. God. And like the giant's like, yeah, I'll fucking do it. And that's great. His joke about him being a statue and insistently every time the girls are freaking out, him being like, I should have posed. Now you won't be a cool statue.
God, I can't get it. Like, I love Zoro in this arc. Like, once we get to the tier list, dude, Zoro's getting like higher than he was previously.
I agree. I think that's the correct move.
Is like, it's so fucking good. Just the posing, just like him just trying to cut off his own leg because it's like a coyote in a bear trap where it's just like, well.
Imagine, Crit Scratch says, imagine if Zoro just had peg legs for the rest of the series. I'd be down for that, and I'd also love that if he eventually got like cool prosthetics that had swords come out of them.
Yeah,
5-sword style.
God,
is early Zoro a himbo? I would say no. He's too smart.
Yeah,
he's the smartest person on the crew besides Nami, and it's really funny because like Sanji's so dumb and goofy in the early arcs. Like he, Luffy, and Usopp always react to silly things, and like. You see them get, like, those are the three that immediately get caught in the Whiskey Peak trap. Meanwhile, Zoro and Nami are like, no fucking way. Also, Zoro's past as a bounty hunter, very cool usage of bringing that back, and that's why he knows Baroque Works.
Yeah, and how he was invited to be in Baroque Works, and he's like, nah, I only would want to do it if I was the boss. And it's like, yeah, that's very, very fair. Which is very interesting, because it's just like, Zoro is number 2, basically, in the Straw Hats, right? Like, and so it's just like he joined the Straw Hats even though he can't be the leader, but he would, in Baroque Works and other stuff like that, he would be like, nah, I want number 1 or nothing.
God, yeah, that later fight where like, cause he mentions 2 or 3 times that like, yeah, Baroque Works offered me a thing, and then I murked
Yeah.
their Mr. Seven or whoever, and they were like, wow, you're
Yeah.
really strong. Do you want to join? And he's like, no. And then way later, he's just like, they're like, yeah, we heard that you murked our guy. And he's like, yeah, you could get me to join if I can be your boss. It's such a good moment.
Yeah. But like Little Garden stuff, just like, I don't know, Mr. 3, like you said, is just so fun, where it's just like, yes, my art piece, like such cartoon villain like shit, but also like super smart.
Yeah, that's why I like that's why I like that, like, he's in the same family tree of villain as Koro, where their thing is just like, I look down on these other criminals. And also, I love that like the high tier Baroque Works guys are like not sympathetic for the most. They're just like, we are card carrying Team Rocket criminals. Our job, crime. Like they're just bad guys. And Mr. 3 is like, I love being a criminal. He's not a pirate. He's a criminal. It's extremely funny. And I like that his whole thing, like, again, I'm gonna view the whole rest of the series through this lens because it's really important. But the Oda saying, it doesn't matter if Luffy kills his opponents, he's beating them philosophically, and that's more damaging to their psyche. Which, then, if you think of it that way, like, what is the theme of each arc? And I love crocodiles, but and like I think Mr. 3's is that he's like, it's all about like intellect, and it's very funny because he's like a stupid idiot hypocrite where he's like, oh, my plan would have been great if all these steps didn't go wrong, and he always blames other people, but like his plans just aren't very good. I don't love the way Luffy like has that last, like, he's like got shadow clones and he's just like, I punched you because instinct or whatever. There's a way you can read that with one of Luffy's powers later on, and it's like, maybe that's the beginnings of that. But I do think it's a little stupid. I don't think they needed to add that. I think he could have just beaten him up.
But going back to Sanji, where he picks up that transponder snail to talk to like Mr. Zero or Crocodile, right? And like Mr. Crocodile just assumes he's 3 because he doesn't care about his underlings to the point where he he doesn't know that he's not talking to Mr. 3. And by the way, can I say it? I fucking love transponder snails.
I love transponder snails so much.
They're so ugly, but I love them. I love those little bitches.
The way they like assume the face of whoever is talking. I've voiced in One Piece several times, like the actual anime, and there's just so many guys in every shot of One Piece because there's a million Marines and Mooks in every shot, especially in late One Piece. And I finally got to voice someone talking through a transponder snail, and I was telling the director, I'm like, you don't know how long I've wanted to do this.
Someone in chat says it's so funny because Sanji's name is like 3.
Yeah,
it's fucking but yeah, like transponder snails, dude, I fucking love it. I was watching like Dressrosa with like Roma, and every time a transponder snail was on screen, I was like, I fucking love these bitches so much.
My 2 favorite universal One Piece world building things, and the latter of these just became recently extremely important, which I'm so jazzed about, is the transponder snails, which are amazing the whole series, and then the increasingly complex network of seagull news deliverers, where you only see Nami interact with one like very briefly in this arc, but like the fact that the seagulls and bird people deliver the news becomes like a big thing way later on, and I love it.
It's just like, it's such a small world building thing that I just like, I don't know, it's like, why not have snails be the phone service, right? Like, it's just, we're goofy, there's giants here, there's devil fruit powers, why not snails?
It's great.
I think that's
the
go on.
I do have one big thing I'd like to talk about in Little Garden, and I talked about this with Bo, I believe, because Bo and I were reading together one night, which I guess now ends up being good since he can't be here, and I can just voice all the things we talked about. I have 2 recurring problems even with early One Piece in terms of just something I philosophically just disagree with Oda on. And I hate the idea. So there's a moment when Brogy and Doggy, the 2 giants, I don't remember their names, they're talking about like, here's our big thing or whatever, and it's all about pride and being a warrior of the sea. And Vivi and Nami are like,
Oh.
that's dumb. And Usopp is into it, and that makes total sense. Hyper consistent for Usopp. But like Luffy's also like, this is a man's fight, and like manliness and what, like grow a pair and fighting and honor. And like, frankly, I think Luffy would hear that and go, that's stupid, and laugh, and then be like, but I respect that you've been doing it for this long. Because like, it feels like Luffy duplicates Usopp, and it's weird that Luffy gets to respond to it from our perspective before Usopp does, because like, Usopp, later on, Usopp having that like man's pride warrior of the sea thing, and like that's it's a flaw. Like, it's literally painted as a flaw. But in this moment and a lot of others in One Piece, there's this big like, you gotta be a man and like stick to your guns or whatever, and I hate it, and it comes up a lot. And it's one thing for like the narrative to kind of be on board with it, but I do think it's weird that Luffy's into it here, because like Luffy, don't get me wrong, I'm not mad that Luffy's upset that they are bombed and fought with. Like, that's totally in character. It's that he like he's with Vivi, I think, and he's just like, listen, this you can't mock a man's fight or whatever. It's like, this is stupid.
Yeah. I think that's all I want to talk about with Little Garden. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
There's one more moment that, so I'll just say this because you brought up Crocodile's thing. Where he's like, he doesn't. Crocodile's big flaw that is, and his antithesis to Luffy is trust in his teammates and crewmates. And there's a good, it's I think the best written one so far in terms of like the thesis statement of any arc. And there's a good one at the end of Little Garden where the giants are like, here, go, like, just always sail forward. And Luffy's like, I will do that. And he just believes them, and it gets them through the giant goldfish. Also, the giant goldfish is one of Usopp's stories that he talked about to Kaya.
Yeah.
It's the first one that comes true.
Yeah, like someone said, are any thoughts on Usopp's lies are true theory? It's not a theory. It's basically...
It's not a theory.
Yeah. Because he talked about the little guys, and I know the little guys exist, so... But yeah, I've seen them myself.
I've seen it.
And next, Drum Island. Honestly,
go ahead.
Drum Island is really interesting because it's the first time you see people just kind of just fucking shoot at them for being pirates, just straight out the gate, other than Marines. It's just like, it starts off with just like, yeah, hey pirates, what the fuck you doing? And Luffy does Luffy things where he's Luffy, and then Vivi gets shot for it. And I think that's really like interesting because it like we've talked about this before, where it shows Vivi's like biggest strength and also biggest flaw, where they always keep like the grander picture in mind.
Yeah, that was the big thing when I started this. I was like, I don't remember being very into Vivi when I was watching this last, and I was like, I wonder if I'll like her. I want to see what she brings to the table. And yeah, her thing is that she's like incredibly for the greater good in like a self-sacrificial way, and like she also has a good understanding of politics, and I like Vivi a lot, actually. I was kind of surprised, like pleasantly so. But yeah, the moment where she takes a bullet and is like, no, let me help you negotiate with people, and she even tells Luffy, she's like, don't be a fucking idiot and get your crew in danger, and he's like, he straight up says like verbatim, you're right, I was wrong, I'm sorry. It's a good moment for both of them.
I just, it's so rare for a character to just be like, without like a extended like arc of them disagreeing, where it's just like, you know what, you just right. You just no fight, just no anything, just instantly like, yeah, I was stupid, which is great.
I love the threat of this arc. I think it's really good of like, you gotta watch it, like you don't have a doctor on the Grand Line, you're gonna die.
And Nami has a fever because she's like working up.
I like that she got it from Little Garden, and it's an ancient uncurable fever. That's very cool. It's a great like silent danger for a shonen to have.
It's just like, what did you have your belly exposed in the jungle or something? And it's like, yeah. And then you look at the further like future of the series where Nami exclusively has her belly out.
Yeah.
Man.
I will say, while I'm listening to these, I typically This is the most I've ever enjoyed going through Drum Island, and the reason
Yeah.
of that is I've been listening to the One Piece soundtrack while doing this, and
Mhm.
the One Piece Ice Island theme is gorgeous, and I just had it on loop for like most of the reading session. I was like,
Yeah.
this is so good, and I know that's not the manga, but like it did enhance it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is an overall theme in One Piece about people in power abusing their power and
Yeah.
like people rebelling against that and like fighting for freedom and safety and kindness. Like that's the big thing. So in that regard, I like Dalton's little story or whatever. I like what Wapol represents is what I'll say.
Yeah.
He's a very East Blue tier villain in terms of his
Yeah.
complication, but like
I
I
I'm
thematically I think he's a good idea. But
I'm evil and I eat things.
I
I eat
like
your
his
ship.
stupid power.
Yeah. When he just starts eating the ship and everyone's like, "What the fuck are you doing, you freak?"
Someone says I can't wait for Jello to rip into Hero Look. We'll get there, and actually, what you can't wait for is for Bo to rip into Hero Look. That's the main thing Bo wanted me to get across is that Bo hates Hero Look.
Yeah.
Um,
But
yeah,
like it's just nice. It's just like it's one of the first examples of like outfit swaps as well, where they're all in like winter clothes and stuff and have the new drip and stuff. I love it. Because they could have easily just been like, put this ointment on you and you can't you don't have to change costumes or something like. But nah, Oda was like, nah, I want to draw these guys in winter clothes and jackets and all puffy shit, and I'm like, I respect that.
I love it. I always think Drum Island is in East Blue because of Wapol being himself. That's fair. I love Sanji being the like
Mm-hmm.
secondary character in this arc. It makes sense that he'd be the most invested in getting Nami safe.
Yeah, Zoro just stays on the boat with a duck, and it's just like,
I like
yep.
that they're not in it.
Yeah.
That's smart. Bo and I haven't really mentioned this because it won't become a problem in the first third of One Piece, but I have started a list called Oda, you should have cut that guy. And Pearl is the only one on it right now. It will be a very large list by the end of this read.
Mhm.
And there's one character in Drum Island who I would put on it as well. But I don't know. I really enjoy Bo and I were like, should Karoo the duck be on this list? Why Karoo? Why is Karoo here? And I think by the end I was like, no, I get Karoo. He has a function.
Yeah, like
Oh yeah, Bo also says, I like that Sanji gets hurt and
No.
it matters briefly.
Yeah, I love the bit where Luffy and Sanji are carrying Nami up the mountain. Because it basically goes, hey, Luffy, you can't fight because Nami's on your back. And then it's like that thing of, you realize Luffy is only good at fighting. And it's just like, fuck, and he just has to book it in multiple cases where it's just like, okay, the rabbits, and Sanji gets hurt, and then he has to he has perseverance. He has fighting and perseverance. And him climbing up that mountain and like having to like not fight Wapol because he has Nami on his back, and everyone's like, oh, this guy's a fucking weak coward. And then it's like finally Luffy's like, oh, fine, not Nami's safe. I can just kick ass the entire time.
Yeah, I got that. It's not as bad in the manga, but that scene of him climbing up the side of Drum Island is tortuous in the end. And I mean it in a good way. Like you really feel it. It's rough. I like, oh God. I again, it sucks. I can't talk about a lot of this, but people in chat are mentioning Wapol comes back, and he's in the most recent chapter actually, in a really important. Yeah, he gets a cover story. Because some of the most recent stuff. Do you know that they flash back to it?
Reverie.
The Reverie.
Yeah.
That's happening. So Wapol and Vivi are there again, and they like have a couple interactions with each other, which I was like, this is it's crazy how much Oda knew that he was going to do from the start. And the moment of Vivi like getting fucking kicked by him as like an 8-year-old girl I was like, oh, Vivi's a really good character, actually.
Yeah, because it was just like it highlighted her biggest strength, which is seeing the big picture, where it's just like, yeah, she can't make a big deal about it because international relations, being a royalty and all this other stuff, and being in
Yeah,
charge
and
of
like
people. Yeah.
that, honestly, that shot of them afterwards, like Dalton checking in on them and
Yeah.
seeing Igarim like comforting her, and she's wailing and crying. I was like, that kind of
Oh.
broke my. I actually teared up a little. That really broke my heart.
Yeah.
Um, Oh, Bo says, I love Sanji and Luffy's dumb little conversation where they're like, did you know people in snow countries can never sleep or they die? Did you know snow women absorb snow in their skin and that's why they're so pale and pretty? And they're both like, you're an idiot. I do love that scene where they're like, I'm so sick of this fucking rabbit. And they just dodge it like 8 times and then
Yeah.
they kick it.
Yep. God, in Kureha, or however you pronounce it.
Yes, that's correct.
She's great. We talked about this a little bit because we all pretty much read Drum Island like around the same time, but like, God, I wish she was a Straw Hat. And Luffy invites her, but she just says no. And I remember I've been looking up a lot of stuff about the Netflix series, right, Jello? And
people want Jamie Lee Curtis.
No,
to play her.
Jamie Lee Curtis wants to play her.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
like
it's
it's mutual.
Yeah, it's
she
like,
loves One Piece.
Yeah, I'm like, God, that would be so fucking perfect.
I would give, if I could change only one thing about One Piece, there's a lot of things I would change. I would have recruited Kureha instead of Chopper. I've said this for years. She's so immediately interesting. She doesn't have the One Piece woman face.
Yeah.
She's cool. She's scary as hell. Like even Luffy and Sanji like can't keep up with her.
She would have an interesting dynamic with Sanji, with the fact that like Sanji would look at her and be like, "Oh, you're just an old bitch," and then he would get his ass beat.
The idea of like Sanji needing to treat a woman differently is like, that would have been a cool dynamic.
Yeah.
I like her dynamic with Nami. Also I need to say this in Bo's stead. Bo mentioned to me that, like, I don't have the exact quote on hand, but Bo was like, I remember reading One Piece and seeing Nami connecting to her on the level of, oh, this is one of the first characters who I've ever seen that's also a woman like her. And is assigned female at birth. And I was like, really? And I read it. And I was like, no, I think you're right. I think Nami's gay.
Like all her interactions with Vivi, like
it's very gals being pals. But like there are some moments in there where I'm like, I think it would be weird to read this as something else.
It's like Nami, who's just like all about money for a lot of the cases. You're just like, I just gotta protect her, all like her cause and everything. And it's like, damn.
Yeah, there's like, honestly, like, what could Vivi do to show her affection, or Nami do to show her affection for Vivi more than giving up 1 billion berries?
Yep.
But yeah, no. Well, we can talk about that a little more later. But
so this was where Chopper was introduced. Drum Island, obviously.
Chopper might be my least favorite Straw Hat. Not because I dislike Chopper, but I feel like Oda never has any idea for what to do with him.
I really enjoy him in Baroque Works, but like this is before he gets like woobified. Or like anything like that. Because like later on in Alabasta, I think he did some fun stuff. Obviously, I feel like because like the Mr. Prince stuff where he was like transformed and like running around with Sanji. Obviously, any character could have done that, but I right now it's Chopper.
It's a good
yeah.
I was, maybe it's a me problem, but in early Alabasta, I literally kept forgetting Chopper was there, and I felt like any moment they acknowledged him, he doesn't talk with the rest of the crew yet. Eventually he gets this great, funny little like comedic dynamic with Usopp.
Yeah.
And you see it once where Usopp's like telling a story and Chopper's gullible and just buying it. But in general, it feels like every moment is like Oda was writing it and he forgot Chopper was there. And someone's like, you should acknowledge Chopper. And the camera turns over and everyone's like, wow, great job at this, Chopper. Thumbs up. And then it moves on. And like,
I feel like where Chopper suffers is what Oda has been doing with like a lot of the other characters, where they get introduced and then the next arc he's like, we focused on them too much, so like we're gonna put him in the back seat. But he just ended up being a back seat of Alabasta, which is like a 50 chapter arc or so, right? Where a lot of important things happened with a lot of characters, and he was like kind of barely there because of it, right?
See that, like, no, I think you've got a point there, and I think he definitely would have been in the back no matter what. But like even then, like even when a character's not focal, they get these small fun moments together. Like,
Yeah.
so Zoro wasn't in Drum Island, right?
Yeah.
There's a moment where Vivi and Usopp find him.
Yeah, and he's
and
naked.
Usopp's got the swollen face, and you get this great, it's like 4 panels. So like they definitely could have fit this stuff into Alabasta, but Usopp's like, I'm not giving you my fucking code. I love Usopp's such a bitch when they're not in fights. He's just like, I don't want to help you. Shut the hell up. It's really funny.
I mean, it's fair because when are they nice to Usopp?
That's true. But they like just the small moment of Zoro looking at Usopp's weird, gross, swollen face, seeing the nose sticking through, and be like, "Oh, it's Usopp." Like that's funny.
Yeah.
Chopper doesn't get any moments like that, even in the background of Alabasta. Like I genuinely forgot he was there. And you know that first shot where they've all got the band around their arm, like the bandage, and they're all doing like, "This is their sign of friendship." I literally looked around the circle because it was like a double spread, and I was like, oh, nice. And then my eyes kind of zoomed in on Chopper, who's a third the size of everyone else and up on a box and hard to see. And I was like, oh, Chopper's in the crew, right? Like I kept forgetting.
Yeah, like so like how do you feel about Chopper's like backstory, right? Because
okay,
like,
I'm gonna speak for Bo here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak with my initial thing, and then I'll speak for Bo.
Yeah.
So I don't remember my initial reaction to reading through the Hero Look stuff.
Yeah.
But when I watched the anime, I think the actor in the dub does an amazing job with Hero Look. And in fact, to this day, Hero Look's death scene is one of the most fuck me up moments in all of One Piece, because the way they translate it in the dub, which is better than my translation in the Viz manga, is his like last line is just like, very soon a monster will be coming here. He's my son. Please don't hurt him. And then Dalton, and then when he's like, oh man, like you've just got to keep trying to cure people or whatever. And Dalton, in the manga, he says something like, oh, I have to keep trying. But in the dub, he says like, do you think the same is true for a country? And it's like, what a much better summation of what Dalton's going through right now. Like, could you? And I'm like, this is a really great scene. And then the moment of Chopper showing up and Dalton like taking the rap to get Chopper away safely, that's all great. And I love that. Now I'm going to dunk on Hero Look really hard. So Bo hates Hero Look so bad, and Bo is right, because I also forgot this. Hero Look is not a good dude by any stretch of the imagination. He's in my head, when I remembered him before this read, I was like, yeah, he's like a doctor trying his best, but he's like not trained because he used to be a bandit. So he's like bad at it. It's like, and I remembered him breaking into people's houses, but like only because the doctor hunt was going on. But no, he is essentially like a weird anti-vax like lunatic who's just like, I mixed some random shit I found together. I'm force feeding it to you. No need to thank me. I broke in through your window. Now let me steal all of your money.
I shot your wife with a trank dart, but you know.
Yeah, it's and he leaves, and like the other thing is all the money he steals is for his own goal, and frankly, I can't even say his heart's in the right place because he's harming too many other people. Where he's like, man, you see, I had an incurable disease. I mean, he tells this to Chopper in the third person, so he's not saying I. But he's like, I had an incurable disease, but then I saw cherry blossoms blooming, and it like then I got another diagnosis, and my disease was gone. And it's like, no, what happened is one doctor you met was just bad and didn't give the same opinion.
It's like I had an aunt who had like a tumor in her brain, and then she like went to church or some shit, and then like went to a doctor. And it was like, oh, the tumor's magically gone. And she was like, oh, God must have done this. And it's like, no, you either just got lucky or the doctor's just awful. Like,
it's very, the way I phrased it with Bo is, Hero Look, he's never been a good guy, but he reads way worse in a post-COVID world where we've all had to live through the very real politics of people refusing to accept medication, and in the thinking like, oh, it, like attaching morality to disease. Like if you believe hard enough, you can be cured or whatever. And it's like, that's that's an actively dangerous mindset. And Hero Look's thing, at its core, Hero Look is he wants to recreate a placebo effect that didn't work because he died. He still has his disease, and he knows that. But he's like, I'll do this, and I'll have cherry blossoms bloom. Which, first of all, not a doctor. That's not what doctors do.
Yeah,
like
that's a botanist, man.
Yeah, even if he found a real magic cherry blossom, and like I have so much to say on this subject because Bo and I spoke about it at length twice. So apologies in advance for how much of this we talk about. But like it's bad. And then like he actively just runs around poisoning people. And then when he meets Chopper, like it's good of him to not hurt Chopper the first time they meet. But then this is the second thing. One Piece is addicted to this other thing where Kureha does this when sending Chopper off too, where it's like, oh, I don't want to leave on like a sad moment, or I can't tell them how sad I'd be to see them go, or I can't tell them the truth.
So I have to be mean to them so they leave, so that they don't like have second thoughts about leaving, which is really cool in like Nami's leaving scene, right? Or like Usopp
that one
leaving,
makes sense,
right?
But
without
like
telling anyone what he did. But this one is just kind of like, man, dude, this is kind of like traumatizing.
One Piece is kind of in that, like when Zeph is being a piece of shit to him, it's like in the same vein. Like in those first ones, you're like, oh, it's kind of misguided people trying to do their best. And at this point in the series, it's just like, Oda thinks this is how you should, like, Oda likes this. He genuinely thinks this is good, and he's wrong. And there's, you know that, like, classic trope of, like, get out of here, you dumb animal, to a dog or whatever? It's a dog, and it doesn't understand English, and you can't be like, hey, it's dangerous for you to stay with me, or I can't take care of you anymore. Let me explain with my words. That's why people do that with animals. But in the instance where it's like, you see, I had to chase them away because I couldn't bring myself to upset them by telling them the truth. That's an unbelievably selfish action, and in my opinion, I can't respect it, and I think they're objectively wrong to do it, because just like, well, I don't want to put my emotions on the line by being sad in front of this person. Instead, I'll traumatize them. And like, Kureha's is bad. Hirulux is horrible. He's like, I need to chase Chopper away because I'm dying.
Yeah.
How will I do that? Well, he had been shot by humans when I met him and was traumatized to the point of screaming and assaulting me when he saw me, a human, who reminded him of his trauma. I'll shoot at him.
Even though like, that's the one thing I promised to never do to him. Yeah.
It's horrible. It's really awful. And, yeah, no, it's just, I hate it so much. And it's bad. I don't like it.
I did not put as much thought into Hero Look as you guys have, but yeah, checks out. I'm looking at my list. Checks out.
So, yeah, it's again. I don't want to lean on this too hard, but it is like I'm trying to represent Bo here.
Oh yeah. I can definitely understand why Bo has this opinion, especially with like all the stuff going on.
I'm not like it's not my place to talk about what Bo's dealing with, but it is a medical thing in their extended family. So right now,
Hero Look is like
And Bo's been dealing with a lot of really incompetent doctors fucking their family over. So the idea of just like, oh, you just have to believe and you can cure any disease. And Bo literally was
and
like,
at the end of it, it's like this thing of like, oh yeah, what I was working on wasn't like some sort of like ointment or potion. It's just fireworks that like make the snow pink. And it's like, just imagine how annoying that is for like the next few days where all the snow is like pink and you're like, God fucking damn it. Oh, God.
Yeah, and like that's what I said to Bo. I was like, it was very smart of Kureha to burn all that powder as a goodbye to Chopper, because that powder meant nothing to anybody else in the world and would not heal anyone. And Chopper's the only one. Like, don't get me wrong, the visual of Drum Island's shaped mountains with the bloom of cherry color above them is honestly genius. It's a really good idea, and I love that as the parting visual for the island. But it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't cure, like, it's not like the island, I guess the idea is, like, the island was cured because they got rid of Wapol, but, like, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So, again, I'm just gonna try and go through this as fast as possible. Bo and I came up with fixes for Here Look.
Okay.
First of all, you could have. First of all, Here Look should not steal anything from anybody. He needs to be more well intentioned. Because we were like, man, at this point, Here Look was such a bad dude that I kind of want Chopper to have a moment where he's like, yeah, I've been traveling with you guys on and off for like 3 years now. Gotta say, he was the best thing that had happened to me in my life at the time, but like, that guy was fucked up, and I'm really glad I have people I can actually rely on now who actually care about me and treat me well. Like
I feel like having him be like an ex-pirate, and that's like it, and that's why people like don't like him, and he's like doing his best instead of actively still being a menace on society would probably like make him more sympathetic.
Yeah, he shouldn't steal shit. He should just be like a weird guy and be like, just put a bounty on doctors so that people want to turn him in.
Yeah.
Like that's all. Or God, Bo and I said so much on this point. Give me 2 seconds. I'm trying to like I'm trying to skim it down. Scoot. Okay. So, oh my God, he's so terrible. There's that thing I just said. Any one option is you can have him not be a doctor and he's just the like an arborist guy who's like, oh, I really want to make these cherry blossoms that, and it can be magic cherry blossoms. It's One Piece. It can be like in this country.
That's what I thought it was, because it was just like, it's One Piece. Why couldn't it be magic cherry
fully
blossoms?
placebo?
Yeah,
not a real thing. So like, and like that's the worst thing is like he knows he's wrong because it didn't cure his disease. But like in the event where it's like in this other country, there are these cherry blossoms that only bloom on spring islands. I'm an arborist, and my goal is to get them to bloom on a winter island. Like, that makes a lot of sense. It's also a great lead-in to Alabasta, which is a summer island, and also has its own unique weather problems that are fucking everybody over. And, him being like, yeah, I'm spending my whole life working on this thing that will, like, make people happier. And then when he dies, Correas just sees Chopper, and Chopper's like, I want to help people like him. And she's like, you're an idiot. The best way to help people directly is to become a doctor. So that's how you should carry on his will. And that's why they become a doctor. God. Sorry, again, there's just so many words. And
no, keep going.
Yeah, okay. A better way to format it would be something like, you can't cure this disease. There's no cure for this specific disease you're trying to cure. And Here Look is a real doctor. Like, maybe he could be a pirate. There's plenty of ex-pirates who are also doctors. Fucking Crocus is an ex-pirate who is a doctor. We just met one. I'm a real doctor in this version, and I don't believe that there's any disease that with time, science, and effort is genuinely untreatable. I'm dedicating my life to fighting the stigma that there's no reason to try researching a disease because it's hard. And then the cherry blossom shit is like, I don't know, a vaccine or something that can't normally be distributed in snow countries. And Bo says, in the real world, Here Look would be a guy giving away dirt water, and he's convinced it cured his cancer and insisting he would never take money for it, but heavily implying people should donate what they think it would be worth to cure their diseases.
God.
He sucks. Anyway, we've spent too long on Drum, but I will say, So Wapol's got those two guys with him.
Yeah, the factory where they combine and just like it's completely.
Yeah, that all the way. None of that.
Yeah.
Chopper doesn't. Frankly, so obviously Luffy always gets to fight the main boss. I would say, I think Chopper should have just fought Wapol and gotten rid of him, and that should have been the end of the fucking arc. And I don't think Luffy needed to fight anyone. Luffy had an incredible boss fight. It was climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep remembering things Bo told me. Bo also despises, and is correct to hate this, that there's no agency to which the crew accepted Chopper because they didn't know he was a doctor when they recruited. Luffy didn't know he was a doctor. Sanji didn't know he was a doctor. So it really takes away the like, we got a doctor. It's just like cool, weird reindeer.
Cool little freak. Yeah. This is like the first time zone type devil fruit were introduced, which was interesting because there were two of them. There was the ox guy, the bison fruit or whatever it is, and then there was the human fruit. God, I still think that's a very interesting concept, that it's just a guy that that reindeer eating a human fruit, which obviously like in Alabasta there's like the dog who ate the gun fruit or whatever the fuck, or the
it was the gun that ate the dog.
Yeah, that's what it was. But it's a really interesting. They didn't really, I don't think they really like describe or like explain.
No, they didn't do a good job explaining.
But I understand it. Yeah, where there's like multiple. It's like this is the bird fruit type falcon, right? It's like, okay, I get it. There's so many animals that you can't really go like, this is the bird fruit that lets me turn into every bird. It's like, no, this is like the bird fruit that turns me into a penguin, and it's like, cool, nice, it's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would. There's a great Aram and I watched a little bit of Drum with him, and there's this moment in the anime where, you know, that scene where Wapple's chasing Nami around in the castle, which I do think is hilarious, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's a moment where Wapple, like, there's a big important scene where characters are talking to each other, and Wapple just leans into frame and goes, "Hello, I'm still here!" And we, like, that turned into our mantra for any time a fight was going on too long. We would just say that. And, like, yeah, I don't know, just, like, Wapple was never a threat. And, like, I'm very here for, like, him toppling the king, but I think it should have been Kureha or Dalton or even like our Chopper getting rid of him. Not like Luffy didn't need to.
Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty much Drum Island. Like, there's not really much like more. I think it's like an interesting theme of just like, hey, this tyrannical ruler, get the fuck out. I think that's definitely wrong, repel and flying. Yeah, they probably realized it was limiting because it's just like, oh man, this is cool power, and then it's like, oh wait.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. They do mention Blackbeard here for the first time, which I like. I like. That was cool. That there's not much else to say on it. I like that this sets up Blackbeard and then later Ace. Though I will say I'm being very mean. I am counting the number of panels and chapters Ace is in. It's less than 100. So I'm just gonna keep that little factoid in my back pocket meanly.
Going to the next one, which is basically like just Alabasta. Like it starts off with them running into Ace, and that it's interesting to see like, oh man, this guy is in the Whitebeard Pirates. He's like a one of the main minions of like the warlords, and he's just like, why don't you join me in the Whitebeard Pirates? And Luffy's like, fuck that, and he's like, yeah, that's fair.
Oh, someone asks, who did I add to the useless character list? Specifically the fusion of Chess and Marimo. I think they were fine as like guys who were with Wapple to like torment the people and blah blah blah. Though I don't think they needed a fight. Like it was fine when they were like fighting off the rabbits and stuff. Like that, it was functional. But I like the idea that you do need a climax and a shonen, but I am not of the opinion that it needs to be a fight. For me, again, Luffy climbing the hill is more than enough of a victory for Luffy. That was, and like a lot was dedicated to that visually. It was cool, it was scary, it was dangerous. I felt it by the end of it. So yeah.
It's very cool. What I like is always seeing like the people with Devil Fruit have like wacky ass fucking rides. Like Smoker's motorcycle, and then like Ace's like surfboard ship, right?
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. I'll just say this outright. I hate Ace and his greater role in the series. I think he's specifically some stuff that happens regarding Ace and his greater role and the character who essentially replaces him later on, I think is one of the worst writing moments I've ever seen in any piece of media. And I'll talk about that later. But I will not lie, Ace has a fucking amazing introduction.
It's this thing of like, obviously I know a lot of the stuff that happened to Ace and all, I know why it's bad, but it's just like I like Ace's design.
I do, yeah.
He has freckles. he has fire powers. He has a cool ass fucking surfboard, and he's called the Fire Fist. And like every like 13-year-old cell in my body is like, yo, that's hype as shit.
I'm like, someone says, is this a spoilers-free stream or not? It is spoilers-free because there's got to be at least one person here who's literally never read One Piece before, right? And they are reading it along with us.
While occasionally we say, this is a fun tool that'll help us later, we don't outright say certain things. Just because it's just like, you know, if you were gonna get into One Piece, this is probably one of the best opportunities a lot of people have had. And like, there's a lot of stuff in One Piece I don't know, but I know a lot of like certain highlight moments of it. But as for me, I don't know the grander picture. Like, this is like one of my first times like actually consuming Alabasta. I'm gonna know nothing of Skypiea, which is the next little chunk we're gonna get into. But yeah, like Ace is literally just like me as a kid. If I saw that, I would be like, Ace is the coolest shit ever. And I think right now he is still like I love it. The surfboard, everything. It's amazing.
The problem is not that Ace isn't cool.
Yeah,
I'm like it's almost more of an insult because of how cool. And in the anime, he hangs out with them in Alabasta for like 10 episodes.
That's lit.
He joins their party, and it's like a little bit of filler. Like they end up like falling into a ruin on their way to whatever the name of the town that Koza's dad is digging is, but like, and he's like, oh, eventually I gotta go, but he helps them for a little while. It's also insane to me they don't explain what the piece of paper that he gives to Luffy
what the fuck is that? I don't know.
I'll just tell you, because this isn't a spoiler. I don't know why they don't explain it. It's something called a Vivri card, which it's just like a log post for a person, and you put it in your hand and the wind will blow towards where they are. That like it's not a spoiler, and a lot of other characters have them later on. Like, it's very weird that they didn't explain it.
Didn't say it. Yeah, it's like how they didn't explain like zone type Devil Fruit. They were just like, yeah, this is a thing. But so that's like the intro Alabasta, and like they make it there, and it's like it's such a large chunk that I'm trying to like remember like the steps they took. Like
they bump into Mr. 2 on the way there.
Bon Clay,
yeah. So
explain Bon Clay to me.
Which part of it?
What's up with Bon Clay?
All right, so Bon Clay is they you know how they translate. I don't know about your translation, but in mine, they translated his thing as the like, oh come my way.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be Okama way, which is kind of, I don't know how derogatory it is, but it's sort of like a umbrella term for like at the time in Japan, like gay, transgender men, like more feminine men, cross-dresser queens. It's kind of an umbrella term, and it's one of those early 2000s. So don't get me wrong. I don't think Oda dislikes LGBT people. I just don't think he understands how to represent them very well. And like, I actually just saw a video in my recommendeds that was like, had a lot of views and it was new. It was like an LGBT retrospective on One Piece. And like currently, there's 2 trans characters in Wano, but like, I would argue neither of them need to exist and neither of them do anything. And it kind of just feels like Oda was like, I'll add a trans character. And then they show up and they're like, hello. And then they don't do anything. But like everyone, it's very funny because everyone was like, wow, trans characters in One Piece. And I was like, it's cool that they're trans. They're equally irrelevant to everything going on as everyone else. And Mr. 2 is like, he's a lot. Oda definitely likes him and is like, this is a good dude. And he comes back also. A lot of the Baroque Works guys at least like show up in a cover story or something later on. He shows up later, and he's one of the most like cool guy characters in One Piece of all.
I like Bon Clay, but it's just like that thing of just like, I don't know if you're doing this as like a joke or like, I was just like kind of like, okay. And that's why I was like wondering like you and like Bo's like stuff, because obviously you've like read One Piece in multiple different like translation kind of stuff and watched the anime, and I'm just like, okay, what's up with Bon Clay?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
I would say what they're okay, Okama's not as bad as the F word, but it has become okay, it's an only queer people use this word. Okay, so it's like a reclaimed pseudo slur.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I would say the best description is imagine if like in the 90s there was a show made in America where like it's about like a super stereotypical gay guy in the view and he only does like maybe he shows up as a villain at first, but then he only does good things and is like a bro, but like so it's like maybe when this came out this was good rap, but then like if you look at it now it's like this guy's not really a person beyond his like look how queer I am energy, and that's kind of how Bon Clay reads to me.
Yeah.
I like him overall, but every time I'm like looking at him, I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, like
weren't there Okama and Mother 3? Yeah, the Magipsies are like
God, why everyone trying to copy Mother 3? Even One Piece. God.
No,
yeah.
No, I would say the Magipsies are like actually a better depiction of like because there's like one of them that's like, ooh, hello, darling, like very stereotypical queen, but the others all have completely different personalities, and they're more like I would call them like intersex. I don't know. Anyway, I don't feel prepared to speak on Bon Clay, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I was missing Bo right now. But, after that, I think the first time, like, they go to the Oasis town, where it's like, there's that guy digging, right?
Yeah, they stop off at the first port, where it's just like, here's this. Oh, you know, one thing I will say, it was a really clever moment that I was like, wow, that's really smart. Is that there's like 2 panels of Chopper's nose where he's like, oh my god, all the perfume in this bazaar is so much. And then way later, Nami, when they're separated, puts on her perfume so Chopper can find him across the city. And I was like, oh, that's genius. I never would have thought of that. And also, real quick, I just remembered this because it pissed me off. Chopper smells Wapol coming when he's halfway up the mountain, and then later can't tell where Wapol is when he's hidden like 5 feet away from him, and I think that's fucking stupid. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, it's very interesting because like in a lot of One Piece, it's just like, oh, fuck the royalty, because obviously Drum Island, and then fuck like Marines and status and all the other stuff, right? And it's very interesting to see a island finally where it's just like, yes, kind of the good guys are the royalty and government kind of in place, right?
Yes. It's sort of like a bigger version of how Smoker was the first good Marine.
Yeah.
And I love the danger, like the threat in Alabasta, because so in the way where Hiruluk works a lot worse in like 2023 because we've lived through a medical crisis where he would have been an objective villain. I think Alabasta hits a little harder for me after all of like the deep fake shit and the stuff that like alt-right people do to stoke problems and be like, isn't it insane the king's doing this? And then they are just the ones doing it and setting it up. And it's like, oh, this is this is like an uncomfortably realistic depiction of absolutely how a revolution would be set up.
Yeah, it's like Baroque Works, it was like literally like a big, they're so like, it was such a big threat because this large organization was playing both sides to get what they want, right? And they're like, even like Crocodile was viewed as like a hero for some reason of the people. And
where was Crocodile on January
6th?
Bro, he wasn't there. He was the one telling people to go through a proxy account. I love, like, Crocodile is such a good second Warlord of the Sea to me, because Mihawk's just like one scary guy, and it's just like, look how powerful this guy is. And then you see Crocodile, and it's like, he's also very powerful, but like his danger is his network of influence, which is like very cool.
It's like his network of influence, and then like taking control of this area where his devil fruit is like the strongest it can ever be. Right.
And he's got a good plan. He's just like, I eventually want to rebel against the world government, and to do that, I need a military nation. And so what better place to do it in than a Sand Kingdom? I love Crocodile as a villain.
Yeah.
He's so aggressively evil, but in like a way where it's like,
Yeah.
so oftentimes if you get like a hardcore chaotic or neutral evil character, they're very much like, I want to destroy the world, and it's like, why? And they're like, I don't know, and then they keep destroying the world. And Crocodile's just like, I'm a thorough bastard in like I will betray everyone.
Yeah.
I'm a monster. And it's just like, I believe he'd exist though. Like, this is a real person.
No, it's like the means of him gaining power, like just all the money, him running a casino, and it's just like, I don't know, it's a really interesting setup because it shows how strong certain people can be with certain devil fruit, where it's just like, yeah, sand and sand area, I basically don't have a body, good luck killing me, fucko, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
And he's like so thorough, except for like certain areas where he's like, why would anyone betray me? They would be dumb to betray me.
I like that Crocodile's weakness is his really aggressive temper.
Yeah.
Like, and it's great because like he is really scary, and like he has such mob boss energy. It was so smart to put him in a casino. Also, his base is awesome, like the underwater aquarium casino.
I love the banana crocodiles so much. The banana crocs are fucking great.
Oh yeah, someone in chat mentions, I love how he even threw Vivi a fake key into the crocodile. He's such a motherfucker. It's so funny.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like, it's so hard because it was such a big arc that I'm trying to like go into it like chronological order.
So the order things, luckily I read it all in like literally one sitting, and I've seen it like 8 times. So the order of things that happen are, they arrive in the initial port.
Yeah.
They run into Smoker and Ace is like, okay, see you in 600 chapters. No, I won't appear again. Goodbye. And then they're gone. Karoo runs north to go to the capital to deliver the information, because I love, I was about to say I love King Cobra. I love 85% of King Cobra, where he's like a cool dude.
Yeah.
I hate that he's like weirdly a pervert and is like watching his own daughter change and then later bathe. That's very weird.
Yeah.
Don't like that shit at all.
Yeah.
Does Smoker not appear again until Marineford? I'm afraid no, he doesn't. It's such a bummer. I love Smoker. He's one of my favorite characters in One Piece. They even, I forgot, they even give, I always want to call her Queen, Tashigi. They even gave Tashigi like a moment of character growth. I don't think it goes anywhere, but they gave her a moment of character growth, which is cool.
Yeah. I like most of the like Baroque Warp minions that we see. The Mr. 4 fight, the batter guy, and I forget like what his like lady partner is.
You know what's funny is in the original she's Miss Christmas Eve. In the hello Banana Gator. In the 4Kids dub, they changed her name to Miss Groundhog's Day, which I actually think is better.
Yeah, because the mole powers, but I like, it's interesting because it was obviously it was like a Sanji Chopper fight, right?
You keep swapping.
It's because
you keep swapping those two.
It's because I don't know. In my brain, I'm bad with names. And if names get like introduced to me at the same time, they get placed in the same folder. And when I pull from that folder, right, I have an equal chance of pulling both names. I used to get Christian and Austin's names mixed up in my brain. Even though they're completely different people, and like, I never hung out with them at the same time. But yeah,
I have a similar problem, but it's whenever names start with the same letter or they are associated with the same color. So like, you played Overwatch with me a couple times, and if I ever called people out, I switched Pharah and Symmetra constantly because they're both blue. etc.
Yeah,
it's bad with names. Bad news about the series you're reading, buddy boy.
Like
it's a huge issue in later arcs, actually.
Yeah, and so an Usopp Chopper fight is very interesting because, like, I don't know, just so much about it is it's how I always talk about the dynamic fights, right? Where it's just like there's a bunch of holes everywhere. There's a guy jumping like bouncing out of it and hitting baseballs fired by a dog gun. Like, what else do you fucking want? Also, like, objects can eat devil fruit. Is that like a plot point later on, or is that just a thing?
It happens at least one other time. Don't worry about it. It just be like it's One Piece and leave it at that.
Fucking okay. I was just wondering. I was like, that's interesting. Maybe they'll like explain. No, okay.
I think they might mention that like Vegapunk, the super Da Vinci scientist who gets name dropped, constantly invented that. I might be making that up, but like other than that, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I'm just like I love the dog gun's kind of cute though, but it's just the whack-a-mole like popping out of it, hitting with a bat. Like it's very simple, but it just allows like for like all the fun stuff of not Sanji, fuck Usopp just like being dragged everywhere by the mole girl and then like hit by the baseball. And...
Yeah, I like. So we can talk about the endgame fights now and then like wrap to some other stuff. The thing I like about Usopp's fights is that like I like what triggers Usopp to enter ride or die mode, where he's very similar to Luffy actually, where he's like, don't make fun of my captain, don't make fun of my people's dreams, and like that's cool and I like that. I was talking about this with Bo again recently. Oda doesn't understand that every time that you show a character taking massive damage and it doesn't seem to matter, it slowly degrades the stake for every single fight, and usually Usopp fights are immune to that. This one isn't.
True.
Which I don't like. Like if you show me a shot of Usopp getting hit so hard that we see a cross-section of his skeleton where his brain is cracking and his nose bone shatters into a million pieces, and then he still gets to go, it's like, just don't show me that, because now I'm like, he won't lose no matter what. You could chop off his head and he'd be immune to it somehow. And I'll come back to that element of taking stakes away by removing consequences at the end of this arc, I say angrily. And that's why I'd like to say, I think the best fight of all the numbered agents in Alabasta, I think the best one is Mr. 3, but in Alabasta proper is Nami's fight.
It's the first time you see the weather staff.
It's the first. I think they localize it later as the Climate Act. I think. I like that thing. I love the joke that Usopp's made it for parties. I love that. Also, it's fucking Nami's fault because she didn't give him any R&D funds to actually make a good weapon, so he just makes this stupid little party favor, and she still wins with it. And also, when Nami takes damage, Nami's damage is lasting, like, because Nami's a girl and it's a shonen, so you're not allowed to punch her bones in half. But like when she gets stabbed through the leg, it matters. And like with Zoro, like I kind of get that Zoro's thing is that he's like, I will take on as much pain as I can. Like that's a recurring theme, and there's actually one really good scene where it sort of comes to a head where it's like, I will take as much pain. I flirt with death constantly. And like, at least I don't think it's a good thing, but I do think it's recurring. Like it works for Zoro. I don't like it with Sanji. I don't like it with Usopp. Especially don't like it with Usopp. And like, but the Nami fight's interesting. It's also Nami's first formal battle. Like against a person, which is cool.
And it's fun that the gimmick is trying to figure out this new weapon like mid combat. Right.
Yeah, see, anytime there's a fight with a mini game, that's fun. I will say, bones breaking and having it mean nothing irks me so much in One Piece. Agreed. And like, see, the moment where Sanji got hurt so bad defending Luffy, his back was broken and he needed the best doctor in the world to repair him for 3 days, and he was out of the fights. That's good because there's consequences. And I liked that. I especially love that he tries to fight and Correa just breaks his back again to stop him.
Bless Correa.
Correa's amazing. I love her so much.
So, I remember a panel where it's just like Nami goes to use like the super technique of the staff, and then Usopp's like, "You're not. It's supposed to be a party trick. Don't do that."
Yeah, and he's like, it's a party trick, and like she figures out a way to make it an actual weapon, and then
Yeah.
she finds that page in the instructions, and she's like, oh, even he didn't realize it had this potential.
Yeah,
Lamau.
it's like this. It plays off of like what Vivi noticed like about Nami like beforehand, where it's just like, oh, Nami can just tell the weather and stuff. Is that is so experienced, and then it's just like, you get this weather staff, and it's like, oh yeah, Nami can just improvise and know all this like weather pressure shit.
Oh, this is not related to One Piece, but you're someone who might actually be able to have a second opinion on this. Pierre Shan Lao, I don't know how to say your name, says, shocked at how Black Clover is the best at treating its ladies in current shonen. Is that true?
I haven't read Black Clover in a long time because I kind of dropped it,
Okay.
but like, I feel like Black Clover does have a lot of strong lady characters, more so than most shonen, but like, it's a low fucking bar. Like, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very low bar.
Yeah, it's a shame. You mentioned to me once you were really enjoying how Chainsaw Man Part 2 has a female protagonist.
Yeah.
Who's allowed to suck.
Who's allowed to suck. And I'm just like, I feel like it's so brave in a modern shonen. I guess it's so weird that it's like, say that. It's just like something so like, cavemen of just like women can be strong, wild concept, you know, like
I haven't read in a while, but doesn't My Hero treat their ladies pretty well?
No.
Not at all. Oh my god. There's an underage girl who fights naked because she's invisible and she'd be visible otherwise, and then like 20 chapters later they introduce a guy who can phase through walls, and they're like, we figured out a way to make an outfit for him
because it's made out of his own hair. Yeah, why can't like. But yeah, like fuck.
Yeah. Anyway, we still have a lot of Alabasta.
It's One Piece Book Club. Maybe one day we'll read two. Fucking God, I hope not.
I don't want to read another shonen after this for a while. But also speaking of like treating women a certain way, hardcore fuck all of Vivi's weird outfit in the Whiskey Peak arc, where it's like she's got like a hypno dance with her belly, and then she pulls her things out of her tits,
her nipple area.
Hardcore veto. Like it didn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I will give Oda credit for this. I don't like the Zoro versus Mr. One fight. I think it's quite boring.
Yeah, it's the start of what I think Zoro fights are going to be from now on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. But I will give Oda this. Zoro does mention, I think 3 separate times in this saga that he wants to learn how to cut through steel. And I was like, you know what? This fight is boring, but at least Zoro is trying. And like, he doesn't really figure it out. Like, he just remembers something from his past and he's like, I can do it now, which is extremely Zoro. But at least after the fight, he's like, I need to train harder to be able to do that whenever I want.
Yeah,
like, so the bones of a good idea are there.
Yeah.
The DOS bones of a good idea are there.
Because it would have helped them when they were in the sea prism cage. Which, you know, this is I'm gonna talk about the crocodile fight for like a little bit, but like I saw them introduce sea prism stones, and I thought that would be how they beat Crocodile. Because like why introduce it otherwise? Obviously it's gonna, you know, be a thing just throughout the entire series, especially since,
it's all over the series.
But it's just like to introduce that, then introduce this guy that can't get hit due to his devil fruit powers. I was like, Luffy's just gonna fucking pick up the rock, get his own strength sap, but still try to beat this guy over the head with a rock. And it's like, no, he just covers himself with water, which is honestly really smart as well. Just covering yourself in water and then later blood to really like actually.
I remember
hit the guy.
I didn't see this direct. I heard secondhand from the guy I first read One Piece with that apparently Oda was kind of down on himself. He was like, I feel like the blood thing with Luffy in the last fight was a bit of an ass pull. And I like, if that's true, and he thought, I liked it. I thought it worked well enough because it's like, I don't know, blood has water in it. It's fine. I'll take it. Whatever.
Yeah. It's a kind of a liquid. So, God, fuck. Alabasta had so much going on. It just like it was that thing of like we talked about East Blue, and I feel like it was very fluid because it was like, yeah, it's like this that goes into this and goes into this, and it's just like Alabasta just said so much shit. Like, God, the clock tower. Did you enjoy the clock tower scene?
Yeah, Will, can we save that for a little later?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where we are
So
because we keep
here,
going on. Like, yeah,
I'll change the aspect. I'll change things to talk about. I like all of Vivi's backstory with the revolutionary leader. I like that he's like a good revolutionary leader and also is like very willing to do stuff. I like how scary it is watching Baroque Works' plan go off without a hitch for a while. It's like very uncomfortable because it's like, man, this really would work. No.
It's the dramatic irony of seeing all the cogs like be in place and everyone go into the same location where it's like all these people believe they're fighting for like the right cause, and then it's just like, nah, you're just being puppeted by some fucking chode in the background. It's very much like a weaponization of just like trust. You're trusting that you're fighting for the right cause and that there's no like, you know, crazy shit going on. Yeah,
it's the that's pretty much it. It's literally just there's so many moments to talk about with the trust thing. So let's talk about a good one and then a bad one. So immediately you've got the visual trust thing of everyone wrapping their arm with a bandage, and that's like, this is our sign of our trust. We know each other. And I don't want to. No, I'll talk about this now. I think so. Okay, this is a great example of you don't need to give someone a shonen final battle as long as you give them like a climax or a mini game.
Yeah.
Vivi physically being lifted up by all of the straw hats to save her thing at the clock tower is genius. It's such a good idea.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it doesn't, like, she takes out the guys immediately, which is great. But like, and Vivi even is like, I couldn't even take out one banana gator, but you guys could take them out easily. It's like, that doesn't matter. Like, Vivi doesn't need to be strong physically because she's dealing with so much emotionally and responsibility wise, and seeing her hop up to the clock tower using her friends to stop the evil man who trusts nobody and is betraying he's literally leaving those guys to die. They will be killed by the explosion and they don't know that.
It's so good. That's what I was talking about, where it's just like I like, just in like general, I like any of like the One Piece like fights or things where it's just like they actually work together in order to beat something. Like that's why I was like, I like one of the moments of the number 4 fight where it's just like, Usopp uses Chopper's like horns as a slingshot in order to fire something. And I'm like, I do like that. That's great. That's and then it's just like the clock tower being that too, where it's just like everyone managed to come to the same location but didn't know how to get up there, and Vivi's the only one who could because of like a flashback kind of thing, you know, like, and it's just like,
And someone says, but they only do shonen 1v1 these days. Yeah, they sure do. Second angriest I've ever been at One Piece is in the Big Mom fight in Wano, where it looks like it's about to be her versus Usopp and Nami. And I was like, this is gonna be the best fight in the whole series, and then it doesn't happen. But anyway, that's a conversation for months down the line. So I just talked about that trust thing, and I've got more to talk about it later, but I think that's a great theme. I want to talk about one I think fucking sucks, and Oda did a really bad job with.
God, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so Vivi's flaw is presented as her taking on everything and wanting to do everything alone because she doesn't want anyone to be hurt. And that's not a bad idea, but it's like, there's all these big moments where it's like, Vivi, you're not fighting alone anymore. And you know what? Vivi was never fighting alone. From minute 1, she had Igaram, and then literally the instant Baroque Works put a hit on her, Miss Monday and Mr. 9 were both like, I will die for you. Vivi was not alone from minute fucking 1, which means that her being like, I have friends helping me now, makes no sense and has no weight. And I even when I was a kid, because they have this scene in the 4Kids version, and then even when I was like a teenager and reading it for the first time, I hate the scene in the desert when they're walking to Rain Base and Luffy is just like, I'm done. And he like just punches Vivi and is like, you need to learn to stop so we can help you. It's like, she was never against you guys helping. That's
when I was talking about when Luffy gets out of character. I hated that scene so much because it was just literally out of nowhere. And it's like, she's letting you help her. That's why you're with her. Like, what was it ever a question that she's just like, she's obviously she's not doing it alone. You don't have to mention it. You don't have to have Luffy suddenly be like, wait a second, we have to talk about the themes, and then suddenly like be a little baby bitch that's annoying. And I'm like, damn, I kind of hate this scene.
Like, I've seen people who are like, this is one of the best scenes in One Piece. I'm like, you're an idiot. This scene's terrible.
It's I don't know. It's just like, you don't have to have a scene like that to show that they trust each other and Vivi's letting them help her, and all that other shit. I don't know. It feels so weird. Like,
it's so strange. Oh, there's so much to talk about with Alabasta. I just keep remembering. Don't like the moment where the reason Luffy figures out Crocodile's weakness is because he's carrying the oasis water he dug with the old man.
Yeah.
And Crocodile spears it and it gets on his hand is one of the smartest things that ever happens in this series. It's so thematically perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. God, Luffy, dude, Luffy eating all the supplies when they're trying to survive in the desert. What I liked about it is that it was like a travel segment where like they were actually like worried about rations and like water and everything. It's just like, God, desert sucks, and it's like, good. It makes the journey feel more like a journey.
I like that Vivi has less trouble in the desert and Chopper's fucking dying.
Yeah.
I find that really funny. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think.
There's just so much happens.
The moment, there was a moment that made me tear up, which is specifically I can't remember his name. It was like Old Man Toto or something, but the guy who's digging in
Kuzo's father.
Yeah, Kuzo's father. First of all, love the moment where Crocodile's like, come on, didn't you realize? Isn't it unlikely that many sandstorms would hit the same town that many times? It's like, he's such a piece of garbage.
He literally goes, that one town, I'm just gonna keep fucking sending sandstorms at it. Just constantly.
Because that's where the fucking revolutionaries started. That was their base. That's the thing they worked for. And the moment where the rain finally starts to fall and the old man's like, see? We just had to wait for 3 years. That was all. And he means it completely sincerely. I was like, oh, that's so sad.
He's such a sweet old man. And I'm just like, God, he keeps digging. And it's just like, even the sandstorms coming, and it's just like, I'm not going to stop digging. This town will never die. And I'm like, damn, old man.
I was like, it's so... Oda has a pretty good set. He's weirdly good about understanding the politics of a region and what would actually incentivize people as a whole in a society to act a certain way. So like, I love the idea that the king's like, we've got these big towns, we need a crossroads oasis at this desert, or at this point in the desert. Can you go do that? And that's like a really big, smart thing for a king to assign people to. It's a really important job. It makes sense they would dedicate themselves to it. And it makes sense that getting no assistance for a long time would like have hate grow in the hearts of these people. I love like the deep fake Bon Clay fucking with people as the king to make them spark the revolution. That's really smart. And that one
like small kid seeing him transform but being too scared to like say anything about it, like
that kid should have been murdered, by the way. The fact that Mr. All right, well, there's no avoiding this at this point. This is where the first time I was reading One Piece, I was like, oh, no one is allowed to die in One Piece under any circumstances. And that has been to the series' detriment since its first moment. And Igaram showing up at all is stupid. He doesn't even do anything after he shows up.
I think Igaram as a character could have easily just been replaced by Pell completely. Right?
Yes. I don't understand why he wasn't.
Yeah, because that would make what Pell does later like more impactful, right?
Or at the very least, Pell needed to be around earlier, because functionally all he does is show up and be like, here's what Robin's power is, just so you know what it looks like. He fails, and then he shows up later and is like, I used to always see this clock tower, and now I'm here, and he just Iron Giants and dies. And it's like, frankly, I would have cut Pell entirely and just had the bomb be diffused by Vivi.
But one thing I do have to say is, because you noticed this and I noticed, and when Bo kept talking about how One Piece is a great use of negative space, the bomb explosion panel is a really good use of negative space, because it's not like some giant like cloud explosion, it's just negative space that represents the explosion. And I'm like, yo, that's really, really good. It's really cool, actually. Yeah.
Decent in chat says fake deaths literally just make all the emotional investment pointless. It's true, and after a while you learn not to care. Like there's a character who in the second half of One Piece, like Bo and I were just talking, I won't name them, but they like die heroically, and I was like, it was like, no, we lost so and so, and I was just like, no you didn't, they're definitely still alive, I don't believe you. And it's been like 6 years and they haven't shown up again yet, but they're definitely still alive because it's One Piece, so they're definitely still alive
somewhere.
Lack of death is an Oda thing. Yeah, it's bad.
Like,
apparently Oda didn't want Pell to die because he didn't want to end Alabasta on a bummer. But he didn't end on a bummer. They saved Alabasta. And also, if you're gonna do the stupid thing where Luffy's like, you can't expect no one to die when you're fighting a war that has like a civil war, then nobody died. So Luffy was wrong. So not only was that scene stupid in itself, but Luffy was wrong. He shouldn't have been mad at Vivi because everyone's immortal.
Yeah.
I'm half remembering from an SBS. I think you're probably right, because Oda's afraid of killing characters. And like, weirdly, like, Pell dying is the moment where I was like, oh, no, like, I remember being, I screamed the first time I read it when I was like 17, because I was so angry. But like, there's a moment in Skypiea where a character like explodes, and I was like, I bet they're not dead. And then it turns out they're not dead. And I was like, well, then what was the point of any of that? Like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? And it's like, oh, this bomb will wipe out like 100,000 people. And it will, like, this is the death knell of the country. Thematically, this bomb will end Alabasta. And it will. So seeing a guy pick it up and have it point blank explode on him and do nothing, it completely undoes everything. It just means like, no, Alabasta would have been fine. Who gives a shit? Wasn't Pell's death around the time of 9/11? That doesn't sound real. Also, like, if that were the problem, they would have undone the explosion. They wouldn't have undone a death from the explosion. That's very stupid.
God, I'm trying to think. I guess like talking about like the Bon Clay and Sanji fight. It was a fight.
I thought it was the worst fight in the whole saga.
Yeah, it's interesting to see two characters with like similar, I guess, skill sets, but
not when they're boring.
Not when they're boring, And then obviously after that, it's the Nami Miss Doublefinger fight, which was pretty good.
I love that Oda, like, in the SBS corner was like, people don't seem to understand where Miss Doublefinger's name comes from. And it's like, yeah, you freak. Nobody calls New Year's Day Doublefinger Day.
Yeah, I didn't question it. I was just like, probably some translation shit, or I don't know. But, and then there's, like, Zoro versus Mr. One, which, it's interesting to, like, have Zoro look at his past where he like brushed off something his master said and it was like, actually maybe they're right, and then just did it, and it's like, well, okay, cool. And it's just like, I'm not there yet, but I need to get stronger in order to like do these certain things, which is probably the highlight of it. But like, it's a pretty cut more.
Just double checked. November 2001. That is pretty close, but again, I don't think they would have changed it for that. Like, they might have censored it in America, but definitely not in Japan. Like, I don't think there's a deeper excuse. I think, given the series at large, Oda is terrified of killing characters. He does not do it. There's, to my knowledge, 2 character deaths that are hardcore confirmed. And, like, one of those is thematically walked back anyway. And, like, considering how many characters there are in One Piece, that's not enough deaths. And I'm just saying, if you show me, the reader, that someone in a situation like Pell's or Igaram's where they explode can come back, then why would I ever be afraid of characters dying?
Yeah, or any guy with like a scary power. Like, explosion powers should be fucking terrifying, but if a character can live with explosions like 20 times over, then it's like, I don't know.
It's one thing to have like the way Mr. Five's power works, which is like Bomberman Jetter's rules, where you get hit by an explosion, it's like, ow, I'm tired and hurt, and there's like black scratch marks on me. It's fine. Like, it's a cartoon, I get it.
Jello
but
talking about Bomberman Jetter's challenge impossible.
Bomberman Jetters does have a manga. It's not good.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what's fucking was wild to me? Seeing one of the most gruesome things in One Piece is seeing Luffy's shriveled up fucking unmoisturized body.
Oh yeah, I love that Luffy fucking loses his fight.
I like that twice, right?
Yeah, that's great. Because that's like a stakes, right? And the only reason he survives is because the water is there to save him, which thematically works, and then Robin saves him, and it's like, oh, what is your deal, Miss All Sunday, you fucking freak? And
yeah,
I love Robin. And like also the ending of this arc being like Crocodile's real thing being he's interested in the super weapons and the poneglyphs is a great way to ramp into the what I'm gonna call the real core story of One Piece, which unfortunately only comes up like at the end of every arc if you're lucky, but it's still really good. I like it. I like how even Vivi knows what they are because she would.
I'm always a big fan of like ancient civilization shit. I don't know. It's just always so fun where it's just like, yeah, we're doing all this crazy shit in the world, but like other people existed years and years and years ago, and we're finding like, I don't know, ancient technology or ruins and stuff, and like trying to.
I've got great news for you about One Piece. You're gonna have a good time with
Secretly, the One Piece is a spaceship.
That's not even not a theory. Like, there's a cover story where one character just goes to the fucking moon, and that hasn't come back yet, and I'm really excited for it too.
God, that's insane. Wait till he gets to the moon. Yeah.
Wait till he gets to the moon. Don't say who it is though, chat. I'm trying to think. That's most of Alabasta actually.
Yeah, I think the only thing we didn't talk about was like Sanji's like stint with his like spy shit where he like
that's the coolest Sanji ever is in the whole series.
Called Crocodile again, called himself Mr. Prince, and then just kind of ran around everywhere distracting everyone, then managed to free everyone. And then Mr. 3 comes back, he was swallowed by a crocodile but encased himself in wax.
Like, see, that undeath I'm fine with because Mr. 3 didn't die for any thematic reason. And it's like him being murdered by Crocodile is just a great way of Crocodile being like, I don't trust anyone. And like, we've already seen him try to murder Mr. 3 multiple times, which is very funny. That's funny. I like that to the end, Crocodile's like, I don't trust anybody. I love his betrayal of Robin where he's just like, here, like, it's not even angry. He's just like, thanks, bye, and he just tries to kill her.
It's like, I never trusted you in the first place. I was always planning on killing you.
Blue Glasses says Robin would be the best Straw Hat if she was allowed to do anything ever. You're correct. That's one of the other big problems with One Piece. But also, Robin showing up and joining the crew at the end instead of Vivi, I think is very smart and very funny.
I guess like one thing we haven't talked about. At the end of this arc, one of the most iconic scenes of One Piece, them taking off the bandages and showing the X mark, right? And leaving again. Dude, fucking, I love this every time where it's just like pirates should be chased out of a town, right? And that's kind of like a mindset in like early One Piece, right? Where it's like Vivi asks everyone, is like, what should I do? And Sanji's like, yo, we're pirates. We shouldn't get involved in politics. And I'm like, yeah, fair. Like, it's just...
I like the Luffy escape. I'm hesitant to agree with you about the like pirates should leave being chased because it gets so stupid later on. But I
like it at least now, right?
I like the Alabasta farewell is very, very good.
Yeah, it's very emotional because it's just like it's defying the expectations that Oda has set for himself. Where it's just like, oh, this guy is a friend and for most part will join the Straw Hats probably, right? And it's like, no,
Yeah, Vivi's the first fake out to that
Yeah.
regard. It's fun because like I've been reading since Punk Hazard, so pretty much the whole second half of One Piece, and it's fun because people for a long time have been like, maybe this person's like you read Dressrosa, so it's like maybe people really thought the soldier, I don't remember his name, was gonna join. Their theory was like Luffy always had a joke where he'll always like ask for the things that are stupid on his crew first, to be like, oh yeah, we need a cook and a musician and a statue, and people are always like, the soldier's gonna be the statue in the thing, because they already got the cook and the musician. And it's like, I mean, that is a thing Oda would do. That is the way he foreshadows stuff. But then like, no. And it's great because there is a character who is like, there's one character who's an official crew member who is in the second half of the series. He's a New World character. Or at least he officially joins in the New World.
Yeah.
And that's fun. Or Rebecca, ew, thank God she didn't.
No, I like it. It was a lot of fun. And then the escape scene where you see Django come back with the Iron Full Body guy, and it's just like, well, that wasn't out of nowhere. We know how it came in here, and I'm more okay with it. Instead of them making
love
like
the cover stories, yeah. It's very smart.
It's a good way to recycle a character. Because God knows that One Piece kind of needs that sometimes, where it's just like, why introduce a new character when you could just like take Django and be like, you're a Marine now, good job, buddy. I have nowhere else to put you in the story, so I'm putting you here. And fucking Bon Clay coming back and just being like so like full of emotions of like the Straw Hat story, and it's just like, you guys go, I'll hold them up.
Yeah, like that's funny, and that has consequences later on because, like I mentioned, he comes back, and it's good. I like a lot of Alabasta. You know what? Maybe the reason Alabasta is my favorite part of One Piece is because it's the only part of One Piece that scales to this degree of widespread countrywide importance, and the stakes are still real to some point, and. Not on an individual basis, but like I do believe the country would be destroyed. But there's no One Piece second act of a saga drag where it just turns into running. And like every problematic second half of like every good Water 7 or first half of Dressrosa has its Ennis Lobby or its second half of Dressrosa, or and every I don't think any of Wano is good, but like Whole Cake, good first part, and then the second part sucks. Wano is almost entirely suck in my opinion because it's just people running around and being like, I think I screen capped it. I was like, see this map where they're showing where all the characters are in relation to each other on the map of Alabasta? I was like, this, every time you see these maps in future arcs, it's bad because you're like, uh-oh, there's a lot of people running around. And like, we're still at the point where it's like, there's only 5 fights. Like, they even paired Usopp and Chopper, so there's not 6, there's just 5 fights.
Yeah.
And instead of being like, okay, in the last big arc, these characters got fights. So like in Skypiea, it'd be like, well, let's give maybe like Chopper and Robin their own fight, and then Luffy gets the last guy or whatever, because everyone else got a focal fight. It's not like that. It's like everyone needs a fight now. For the rest of the series, everybody needs a fight, and it is exhausting.
But
all right,
we'll get there. But now we're gonna be on to the segment. The segment that we do of fuck, I don't have our Fugis on here because the Fugis aren't working. But if you look at my screen share, Jello, I've got the Straw Hat ranking.
All right, exciting.
I feel like the easiest. I have Vivi and Banana Gator here because Banana Gator looked nice, so I put it up here.
Okay, sure.
He's polite, trust me.
I think right now Zoro is my favorite.
Yeah, Zoro I feel like was probably the highlight of the arc. I would put him at, would he be an S? Yeah, I feel like
on the bell curve, I think he has to be because he's my favorite.
Yeah, like this is like the best Zoro ever.
Oh, hi, Bo.
Hey. Oh, Bo joined and left.
No,
probably joined on accident or something. But
oh wait. He's.
Hello?
I jumped in for a second to make a joke.
Oh, yeah.
You just popped in and said hello because you're the gator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say S tier for Banana Gator.
I was gonna do a Bitbo where I cropped out a Banana Gator, but pretended you were here the entire time, but just had a Banana Gator in your spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're free to go now.
You could also stay if you want to be here for this.
Yeah. Zoro S is pretty good. Like I literally it's just like every scene with him.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Wait, no, Bo being here and me seeing Nami reminded me. Lots of Nami gay moments. Nami cares about Vivi more than anyone else. She's the most upset. That moment where they're bathing together, and Vivi's like, "Wow, I saw a lot of like weird. There's a lot of weird discoveries to make traveling with you guys." And Nami like stares right at her and is like, "Maybe I should wash your back." I was like, "There's no heterosexual explanation for that."
Yeah. So, God, where put Luffy? Honestly.
B maybe
like,
Luffy was really out of character this time. He gets to be lower.
He has some good moments, but he's got a lot of bad moments, and they're very focal bad moments. So
Sanji's
I think
the most he's ever been and will be.
I put him in B because he just doesn't do anything in this arc. Really, I mean, he's got his moments in Little Garden, but like. It's the parts of Usopp that I think are in character and well written, but I don't like.
Yeah, Sanji, I'd put
A. This is the best he ever is.
This is the best he'll get.
Let's let him have his peak. His whiskey peak.
Yeah.
I mean, Chopper's a C for me, but I'll let you guys swing him. He's not bad. I just don't think he needs to be here.
Yeah.
Also, can I just say, his name's awful. Tony Chopper. It sucks so bad. And later, there's a character who's like trying to be like a sister figure to him. This is way later. And I hate her too. And it's translated. She's like, I gotta give you a nickname. And she calls him Bropper, like Bro Chopper. And it makes me physically ill phonetically. I hate it so much.
So Nami and like A?
I like Nami.
Yeah.
Vivi and A too. I thought Vivi was pretty good.
Vivi's pretty good. Yeah.
But where do we put Fire Fist Ace?
Oh yeah, let me look at all these other characters. Like
I forgot there was a frog girl.
Yeah, she sure barely shows up.
Yeah.
Doggun. Fucking S tier. There we go. Alright, let me fucking change back to the other screen.
Yeah.
Let me put.
I like the vibes on Miss Doublefinger a lot. I do want to say because she's just like a lady, and she's just like when she's fighting Nami, she's like, oh man, this is embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As far as like designs go, I like a lot of the Baroque Works designs for women more than any other ones that come up later because they are actually fun.
That's true. Yeah. No, I like even Doublefinger, who I would say has future forever One Piece women proportions. Like the way she walks, she's supposed to be like a sewing machine where she like wiggles back and forth in a very strange way. And like at this point in time, she has a unique body type, which is hilarious to think about in retrospect.
When that becomes the standard. Yeah.
I remember. Oh, there was some like tutorial that Oda put out in an SBS that's like, how do you draw women? And he literally says it's like, I draw like 2 circles and an X, and then I make the body from that.
God,
it's not good. People were saying in chat, they're like, you gotta talk about the Kung Fu seals. I'm like, they existed. There's nothing to talk about there.
Oh god, the Kung
They get as much talk about them as fucking, I can't even remember his name, the fucking treasure chest guy gets.
Gaimon or whatever.
Yeah.
I never got that her walk was a reference to sewing cross stitch. She says it in my translation. She moves really fast at one point, and it's like supposed to be a sewing machine.
Yeah. Like, fuck, what, dude, don't you remember in 2,000 chapters from now when the Kung Fu seals pop out of the One Piece and say, you cannot take it? Master?
I mean, I'm sure they show up in, like, a cover story, because later on the cover stories often are just, like, what everyone around the world thinks of the Straw Hats, and I bet there's at least one appearance of justice for eyelashes sucks. I don't like the horny animals.
I still remember there was some point where I was going through a bunch of the cover stories to like, it was a time where I liked like coloring images a lot just for like practice stuff, and I was getting a bunch of the cover images, and I saw one of them where it was the clearest case of whoever was doing the like fan translation type stuff fucked up the cover image. And they drew Minnie Mouse feet onto Shiki. And I don't think anyone noticed.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we any
else?
closing thoughts, Bo? Anything I missed?
No, I think you're good.
Mostly just fuck Hero Look.
Yeah.
God. Ugh. So
yeah, I mentioned it in chat at some point. Comparing the storyboards, because like in early One Piece they show a lot of the storyboards, and comparing that to like modern One Piece storyboards is fucking infuriating. The old ones get across things so simplistically, and then the new ones are just like, oh, every panel needs to have 12 characters in it.
Oh,
yeah.
So I'm just... Oh, good, I pinned this. I was like checking if there's anything important that I had pinned. I have pinned one thing that's new, besides Crocodile saying, trust is the most overrated thing in the world. That's the theme, do you get it? I mentioned I'm doing an ace panel count, and I'll just, I think it would be fun to end every single section with the ace panel count, just to make a point. So the ace panel count is currently, he's in 4 chapters, and he's in 71 panels. I counted. It made reading those chapters awful, because I kept rereading them to make sure. And I'm just gonna keep that up to date until the arc where he's focal again, is all I can say. And I'm just gonna leave that number hanging in the air.
Yeah. So the next chapters that we have to read. So we were looking at it and trying to figure out how to cut it, because usually what we wanted to do was like one arc, how they separate it like per like reading. But honestly, Skypiea is a little bit short, and then Water 7, which is the next one, is pretty fucking long, right? So basically how we're gonna cut it, I think, is chapters 218 all the way through Skypiea, and then the first little arc of Water 7, which it goes through 321. So the next assignment, let me write this down so I can repeat it, is going to be chapters 218 through 321. It's the same, pretty much kind of like the same amount around as like the other two.
I mean, that's a couple less than this one still, even still with the extra arc on there.
Yeah.
I hope I like Skypiea more than I did the first time I read it. I would really like to be surprised.
I know absolutely jack shit about Skypiea.
Skypiea is technically the reason I started getting back into One Piece, because I saw the Funimation dub on Toonami picked up in Skypiea.
Yeah.
And I was so confused as to why Sanji sounded like a human being. And I was mad about it at first because I was a child. I still do love original Sanji. It's such a choice. I adore it. But I was like, how did they get to the sky? And there are chunks of Skypiea that I think are phenomenal. I hope I like most of it. And that's all I gotta say.
Alright, so next time we reconvene in the book club, thank you all for supporting the Patreon. And it's a good time too, because since the way things laid out, since this is the 1st of July, you're gonna get 3 episodes this month. For $5, that's a fucking deal. Okay, homie? So next time, Saturday, July 15th, same time, same place, chapters 218 to 325, Skypiea, and a little bit of Water 7. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure not to procrastinate on reading, because it can get
and here, just because this is the closest thing I do to updates for patrons who are, if any of you are also here for other reasons, for general updates, I think it's been like 6 days and my computer hasn't crashed and none of the little semi glitches are happening anymore. I think factory resetting it fixed it, thank God, which means I can start editing. I'm gonna work on the second Lemonade video, and then obviously the Jetters one, which I'm so excited to work on. I'm trying to get it out of the way before I get swamped with stuff in January. And in addition to that, for Epithet Erased stuff, I just officially signed the layout and print designer contract. I spent a week and a half hiring people. So the Epithet art book, which is going to be free to pretty much everyone who supported the Patreon. I think it's the lowest tier reward, actually, which contains all of the concept art from all of season 1 and Prison of Plastic, which is going to be a couple hundred pages, actually, with commentary. That's going to be...
Most of which is from me.
Yeah, Bo's a solid third of it in terms of word count, which is funny because all of you is in the back.
Yeah.
It's the Bo section. But that'll be in the works, so I should have some previews of that to show off hopefully in July. I think we're aiming for like mid-August for a completion. And I have officially signed on a person to help write the Neo Trio song. They were going, but they were delayed by like 2.5 weeks because their guitar broke, and it's the one they like plug into their computer to use to write songs. It's a blues track. I'm excited. It's maybe my favorite song out of all the ones. At least my demo of it is my favorite. And yeah, there's a lot happen. I've been setting so many plates spinning the last couple months, even though I haven't released anything. So any good reviews coming up? Probably not. Jay and I just watched Suzume, the fucking Makoto Shinkai movie. Amazing first half, second half blue. I might talk about that once I watch a couple other things with him. I won't drag this out any longer. Take us home, Aloha.
Sorry.
Take us home, Aloha.
Yeah, sorry, I was doing something funny with you. Yeah. Thank you all for coming out. Remember, I'm gonna say it again. Saturday, July 15th, 3 p.m. PST. I'll make sure to make a scheduled thing on the YouTube just so you guys can see. Remember, the chapters that you gotta read is let me scroll up to find it again. Chapters 218 through 321. So thank you all for coming out. Honestly, I didn't expect this many people to. So thank you guys a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed One Piece, and see you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.